I already said it. We said it a whole bunch earlier, but don't sleep on eHex because,
Yep.
it is probably the most depressed price right now, not straight up parity with Hex on PulseChain. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on that too. So I want to ask you this, Ewok. Now, I mean, everybody's different with what they're trying to get into right now in terms of DCA-ing into this market. Again, with everything dipping, I mean, we have the macro crypto market dipping a lot the last couple of weeks. And of course, everything that's going on with PulseChain right now. You hypothetically, and you can talk about what you are actually doing or even hypothetically, but, what are you most interested in DCAing into right now? And for some people who, again, I always like to go with who probably the average person is that's watching this, which would be somebody that is either maybe totally new to this entirely and heard about it maybe after the Pulse X, a good year and a half ago after the Pulse X sacrifice phase, or they did sack for Pulse X but didn't have a chance to sack for Pulse. Those are the most common people. We know that the data is there. There was about 3 times more sackers, if you will, for Pulse X than there was Pulse Chain. So if you're those people, how are you kind of going about DCAing right now, and what is it that you want to get into? And I'll let you take it like whatever route you want to go, like hypothetically thinking about what else they may have, because that Pulse Chain price is looking really juicy right now. I mean, we are almost back to the sack rate.
Yep.
It's at 4 zeros and a 118, it looks like right now. So, or excuse me, that was Pulse X, my bad. That actually I combined them to both actually. It's 3 zeros and a 1-1 because obviously the sack rate would be 3 zeros and a 1.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, what is it? Are you aping into that right now? How much room do you think there is for this thing to drop? I was going to say this earlier and I forgot. We're on day, I believe it'd be like 18 or 19 right now since PulseChain launched on May the 12th. Infamously, you talk about Hex on day 33 was where it reached its bottom. So we are,
getting close.
Oh, well, over halfway anyway. It does mean it has to do the same thing. I'm not saying that that is necessarily true, but man, it sure feels like kind of prime capitulation right now. I mean, we're seeing a lot of, weak sentiment right now. So yeah, if you're that average person, what are you looking at right now?
Well, I'll be honest. I bought both Pulse and Pulse X today. I swapped out of some of the incentives that I earned for providing liquidity, and got a little bit of both of those today. It was a good opportunity. If it goes down lower, I'll get a little bit more. I mean, I'm going to be a buyer until I see something turn around, at least, especially on some big red days. So yeah, I mean, I think that's, and you're right. There's still a lot of people that have Pulse X out there that don't even have any Pulse. They can't transact. They're still stuck. We do know the bridge is working good. So there's people are able to get economic energy over, but they're still, if they don't have Pulse, it's hard for them to buy it. So if they do buy the wrapped Pulse that is on Ethereum, then they still have to unwrap it when it gets over to PulseChain. And if they don't, again, if you don't have Pulse, you're kind of stuck. So there's a lot of people that haven't been able to make any moves. And, we are definitely looking forward to the the OX Coast team. Their fiat on-ramp is coming soon. We still have the not liquid loans. We have the Power City, their cross-chain exchange that will go to native Pulse. So there's still a lot to come, and it can only get better with the energy. Like I said, right now we're seeing a lot of negative sentiment, things like that, a lot of FUD. It's nothing like nothing compared to 3.5 years ago. But it's there. I mean, it's easier because I've been there before. So, it doesn't bother me. But I can see how a lot of the newer people in the space are taking it and they're probably freaking out right now. So, I think the people, I don't know that I would recommend anybody buy the incentive token. I know we had talked about it before. The price has pretty much done nothing but go down. But again, everything's tied together. So as one thing lowers, everything is going to lower until we get some more economic energy coming back into the system, where it's easy to on ramp, it's easy to get some new cash in there. Things could go down for another couple weeks, probably 2 weeks. Wouldn't it be funny though if it bottomed on day 33 as well? I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Be pretty crazy. And you just reminded me of another point because I'm noticing this happen with myself. Like sometimes sometimes just the way that money kind of flows in the world and some of the things we bitch about, even in legacy finance, as far as like things not being liquid enough or your money being tied up in a 401k that you regret putting in when it's your money, how hard it is to access and stuff like
Mhm.
that, or whatever it is, like how you have to, give your kids social security and a kidney to the bank, to get something out. But sometimes some of those practices can help save you from yourself a little bit too, because it's like, how many people I can say I may have like would have maybe like FOMO'd in to every dip so far, or maybe even up higher than where we are now and then don't have any dry powder, and
Yeah,
sometimes just that lag of like, I gotta wait for the USDC to clear from the bank, or I gotta wait for,
right.
sometimes those little mechanics force you to DCA, which is
Yeah.
good. It also helps
Well,
protect
it's
you from
good
yourself.
now. It's good now. In a bull market, it's terrible because that price
Right.
starts to run away from you, and then you look back and be like, "Man, it was 1 cent, 2 weeks ago when I tried to get my money out. Now that I have it, it went up 10 cents. That's a
Yeah.
big difference when you're talking amount of X's that you can get. So, yeah, as much as right now is a good time that it is kind of good that there are people probably trying to get money over that are being held up.
Mhm.
But there are bad times too. Like in the heat of a bull market, it can really it can screw you up on your returns.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely can. But yeah, it's just an interesting thought I had today. But yeah, people are going to be still buying these lows, and just be patient. I mean, like we're seeing another dip kind of this evening. And yeah, like you said, I think over the next 2 weeks it's going to be key just to continue to watch these. And I already said it. We said it a whole bunch earlier, but don't sleep on eHex because
Yep.
it is probably the most depressed price right now. Not straight up parity with Hex on PulseChain. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on
Yeah.
that too. So
Well, the
um,
arbitrage
yeah,
bots haven't even kicked in, and I think
right.
Andrew had asked earlier, what does arb mean? They're bots that buy up the price on one side, sell on the other to keep them within a close range anyway.
Mm,
You know, we talk about parity a lot, but I don't think they're ever going to move in step together
right.
exactly. I think there's always going to be a little bit of a premium, a little bit of discount on one or the other. They'll stay close, but there could always be the better one, and that may be Pulse Chain, but I think eHex will be right behind it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And kind of the way in terms that I'm looking at my portfolio right now, and I kind of always keep these things ebbing and flowing, especially with how, we're seeing huge fluctuations, of course, right now too. But I've kind of decided on, I think, like a basically twice the amount of hex across both chains than I have either Pulse Chain or Pulse X. So I'm still, mostly allocated in hex and definitely expect over $1 valuation at the top of the bull market on both chains. So that's really what I'm looking at. And then, you got to remember too, I mean, like a lot of that, depending on who you are, may already be staked that you didn't want to mess with. I like to always, as we've talked about before, keep a lot of it liquid. And then I have, a Pulse Chain and a Pulse X allocation then under that. So it's basically
yep,
just, to keep it simple. I mean, just if you're undecided on what to buy because everything seems like a great opportunity, just buy whatever the cheapest thing is.
yeah,
And because a lot of these things in this ecosystem are going to kind of roll along together, you can rotate whenever it makes sense. As long as it's not hyper trading and stuff like that. So that's what's been working for me so far.
I
What do
like
we got for
I,
bridge there?
Whereas says, I think a lot of people are bridging over their EHEX could become super scarce, be the dark horse super performer in the next bull run. That is true too. It doesn't. Everyone talks about the supply, but what they fail to mention is the lack of how much hex there is actually for sale.
Mm,
And as that amount diminishes, it doesn't take much for that price to run up. And the only problem is it does stop bigger investors from getting in. You can't just drop a million bucks into it um, in one buy. They've got to break it up if they're smart about it anyway. So yeah, it does become scarce. More of it gets locked up, the more that that price can really rocket. So it
yeah.
also can dump pretty quickly too. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.